Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your service to our country. My question involves immigration, kind of three-tier.
Yeah.
When you are elected, will you really secure our borders, number one, push for that? Will you deny amnesty to illegal aliens? And do you support the Arizona initiative that recently passed, the Arizona legislation?
Yes, we have to secure our borders, extending the fencing, and we've invested some in the fencing along the southern border. Makes a lot of sense, but we need to continue to invest in Border Patrol agents down on that southern border. We need to continue investing in unmanned aerial vehicle technology, which I shared with you earlier. I worked with UAVs. The Border Patrol agents use this technology to really good effect. It helps save money in the long run if you can monitor hundreds, even thousands of miles using the most sophisticated technology. These are all things we need to certainly be doing. The question about amnesty, no, I don't support amnesty. We have laws, we need to enforce them, bottom line. I think also during this time of budget constraints and a down economy, many people are offended by providing government benefits to those who are here illegally. Absolutely. I mean, we need to stop doing that, and we need to clamp down on the border. And I'd even add one more thing. We need to find this 12 million, I've heard all sorts of figures, we really don't know, but the half of our illegal population that came here legally on a work visa or a student visa that overstayed their welcome. That all blows my mind. I mean, we allowed these people into our country. We have their names. We know where they were going to study, where they were living, who they were going to work for. And then when their time expired, they just stuck around and we lost track of them. Now, only government could be this ham-fisted. Because I'll tell you, this is the era of UPS and FedEx. Someone sent a package recently and checked it on the internet. You can tell real time where your package is. So we got these little packages going around the world. We know exactly where they are, but somebody who lives down the street maybe sends their kids to the same schools that you send your kids to. We've lost track of them. So last I heard, and this may be outdated, so we throw that caveat out there, but last thing I read or heard was that when you come into this country, you of course have your papers that you get from the consulate, and they check them. They do fingerprints. And then when you leave the country, major seaport, airport, even a land point of departure, all those points of egress, they don't check you off the list. So they've literally, over a period of years, lost track. They have an inaccurate count of who is, who should, and who should not be in this country. So one of the things we might consider, it's at least worthy of our consideration, is taking this Department of Homeland Security database, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, equipping local traffic authorities with that database. Because most of us come into contact with law enforcement through local traffic cops, for better or worse. They pull you over. What do they ask for? Sir, can I see your license, your registration? Let's add one more thing. And I'm going to go back to that squad car and check the database, the little laptop in my car. And if you're not supposed to be in this country, boom, we're going to begin proceedings to move you out. So that would be a very low cost, I expect, solution to a very big problem. That's half of our illegal immigrant problem right there. And then finally, you asked about Arizona.
I was just going to say, that's basically what the Arizona law was saying.
And so I'm sympathetic with it. You notice I didn't say there that we should profile, because I don't favor profiling. I've heard some people say that, people are disproportionately somewhere or another, but they're illegal immigrants. We have legal immigrants here, or people who've been around for generations that may resemble someone who fits that illegal immigrant profile. So I have troubles with any sort of profiling. But as long as you're not violating that, if you're pulling them over for something else and you happen to check, I don't have problems with that. And really, we need to investigate why this Arizona law was passed. It passed because the federal government shirked one of its most basic responsibilities, which is to secure our borders. And so it's time Republicans and Democrats get their act together and secure the darn borders.
Windows are open.
I'd like to be part of that.
Excuse me, Todd,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There is a tornado warning 10 miles north of us. The weather's coming in real bad right now. It hasn't started raining yet. If your windows are down, you might want to roll them up. Okay, so take a look. And we're going to be watching this on the internet. If it gets close, it's too bad. We're going to let you know. Downstairs, there is a shelter, no windows. It's pretty safe down there. It's a steel and concrete building, which should be fine.
Is it moving northeast?
Yeah.
I have somebody who asked a question.
You mentioned earlier that you were, that the regulatory system is out of control. What's
Yeah.
your concrete plan to reduce government?
Yeah. The question was a concrete plan to reduce government. There are a number of different things you can do. There's no one silver bullet solution. One, what's that, sir? Defunding. Well, yeah, there are certain programs that will need to be defunded, those that aren't working. I mean, you look at our federal budget.
A novel concept.
What does business do if a particular line of business is failing? They stop investing in it. What does government do? It throws more money into it. So we need to change that mentality, and I'll fight to change that mentality. I'll be part of the solution. You know, I'm not going to single-handedly do it as one member of Congress. When laws and regulations sunset, we need to put them up for hearing. We shouldn't automatically assume that regulations, because they've existed for a long time, are going to continue to be in existence. I think we need to scrutinize all of these things and subject them to cost-benefit analysis. In other words, if it's imposing more economic costs on our economy and our people than the benefit we get from it, we better think very long and hard in this global economy before we pass it again. That's another thing. Next, we need to pass the Read the Bills Act.
Yeah, make them read.
This is a piece of legislation, as I know from the applause, many of you are familiar with it, but it actually requires, or forbid, that people read a piece of legislation before they vote on it. And it causes members of Congress to have to swear under oath, sign an affidavit, that they have in fact either personally read or had this piece of legislation dictated to them. To me, it makes all sorts of sense. I've been told by some that I suspect are of a somewhat different political philosophy that it's unrealistic. There's just not enough time to read all the stuff that you're asked to vote on. Well, if that's the case, you're voting on too much stuff and
That's
passing
right.
too many laws. So you will see, in answer to your question, fewer laws passed, and the size of the legislation, the number of pages, the number of words, will go down dramatically because members of Congress are people too, and they don't like to read really long things if they can be made more concise. Well, how's that going to help us stop reducing the size and scope of government? There will be less opportunity to slip into page 11,422, some earmarked for a bridge to nowhere. There will be less opportunities to slip in unfair tax credits and deductions and exemptions that favor some special interest over another. There will be less opportunity for this sort of stuff, and things will be more scrutinized by we the people because we'll have time to read the legislation, and journalists will have more time to read the legislation as well, and they'll report on it. So those are a few of my ideas, certainly not all of them. I guess the final thing I'd say is we need members of Congress who will just stand up for fiscal responsibility. Not the fake kind. I brought a visual aid here. Some of you know what I'm grabbing for. Not this kind of fiscal responsibility. Did you get this mailing? Some of you
I was
did.
so mad. Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll pass this around. But real fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility that says, we're considering passing $1 trillion stimulus bill. This is obviously a handout to many special interest groups. This isn't going to grow jobs, and I'm going to vote no. That keeps the size and scope of government from growing as well.